channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Today is not an easy video to record and share, but I try to keep it real with all of you. This is probably one of the worst mom guilt moments that I had in my life. So here's the story time about how my son basically broke his collarbone. So I was in the house. It was just a normal Sunday, chilling, and my son was playing on the trampoline and I could see him. And then at some point I see him, so we have like a slide that he can run up to access the trampoline, and he pulls the zip up to go in. But at some point when he was pulling the zip, I think the ribbon broke. So I see him fall backwards. And with kids, because you're so used to little people falling, you're like, he's gonna get up any second. And then I just saw he didn't get up immediately. So I run and he's crying, saying it's sore, it's sore. So now I'm like, flip, maybe that fall was really bad because I think he may have knocked himself by the slide. I couldn't remember, and now I'm confused and he's crying. So he's saying, Mommy, it's sore. I'm looking. I can't see a thing. There's no bruise, there's nothing. And my son is very fair skinned, so you would be able to see bruises. So I'm like, let's just give him a bit of Panado and see how tomorrow goes. Now it's time to bath him. And as I'm trying to take his clothes off, he's complaining that like it's sore. So again, I gently take his clothes off. I call my mom, her having her nursing background, and I'm like, he says it's sore. I'm not sure what to do. I literally sat him up and I was touching all parts. Okay, show me where it's sore. Touching, to try and see. I could not feel anything broken. I could not see anything, any abnormalities. The left and the right looked exactly the same. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let me just get him to have another Panado at night, and then we go to bed. The next morning we wake up and he's still complaining about the pain. So I'm like, I check him again. I'm like, no, man. Then I'm like, something is off. Something's not right. We're gonna take him to the doctor. So we go, take him to the doctor checks, and she's like, I think we need to do x-rays. Get sent for x-rays, and they confirm that he has a green stick fracture. So the way they describe a green stick fracture, it's almost like if you bend the stem of a flower and then it doesn't break off, because their bones are still a little bit soft. They're not like ours, quite brittle. So it had bent into like an L shape. When I saw that x-ray, and I thought to myself, I cannot believe my child slept with a fracture and I did not know. Like he slept with a fracture, and I allowed my child to sleep with a fracture. The guilt. Anyways, the doctor was trying to comfort me and say, you couldn't have known, you did what you could. Okay, cool. So now after the x-ray, they like prescribe a medication, and then we have to go to, I can't even now remember what it's called, but the people that do orthopedic stuff. So we go there and they have to custom make him a sling, and they explain that, look, there's no surgery, there's nothing. Little kids heal up quite quickly. So he's now in a sling. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen pictures of my son in a sling when I was doing the brain of 702. That's what had happened. So now he's in a sling, and they explain, he can't do much with the sling. He has to also sleep with it. Now you've got a fiddly toddler who is uncomfortable, but eventually he got used to it, and you'd see him even figuring out how to use his left hand. He was a great sport. At school, they were very mindful in his like gymnastics class of the things he can't participate in, just for this arm to heal. So then at some point we go for a checkup, and it's completely now broken off. So it went from that, right, as in like the bone is bent, to that. So now it's broken off. Obviously, freak out. What does this mean? Get referred to a surgeon. The orthopedic surgeon is like, don't worry, these people heal up so quickly. Can you see the bulbs? And he shows us on the collarbone. He's like, can you see this bulb? Basically, the calcium is starting to accumulate there and it's healing. He's like, you're done with the sling. Everything is fine. Come up for another checkup. And we came back for a checkup and then he was fine. And then that was done. So he went from a green stick fracture to just being completely broken off. The guilt of your child, you know, sleeping with a broken something, and you think, my goodness, I feel so terrible. But I have to share the story about how Shannon Ezra, the amazing actress that you all know as Sandra Stain, was in studio with me for 7:02 afternoons. We were shooting The Upside of Failure. And she shared with me when I was telling her how terrible I felt as a mom. And she said to me, let me make you feel better. When I was younger, I used to climb trees and do crazy things. And one day I fell, and I was just quite a naughty kid. I fell and I got hurt, and she kept telling her mom she's hurt, and her mom was like, I told you not to climb those trees. I told you blah, blah, blah. Eventually the mom was like, this kid is still complaining about being hurt. 4 days later, they go to the doctor and they do an x-ray and her collarbone is broken. So she went 4 days. She's like, at least it wasn't 4 days of you not knowing your child had a fracture. So I do feel terrible, but he healed up. Everybody around him supported. And more importantly, I was able to see how as a child, he adapted so easily. He just adapted. He just went with it. He just did his thing. He did get irritated. It would come off. There was a day where the sling got wet and needed to be washed. I, being a first aider, I took one of my literal dugus and I made a sling for him. And what I'll do at night is secure it with another duk so that it can be down, held to his body. And yeah, that's what happened. The story of how my son broke his collarbone and I didn't know and didn't take him to the doctor immediately. And then found out, felt terrible. He must have got 2 ice creams that day, but we're all healed up now. Little kids are super resilient, thank goodness.